So one thing that I've learned in organizing is you have to be able to mix and match different personalities. So I have a knack for seeing what worker groups work well with a particular organizer, right? There are some that are kind of like me, where I can pretty much almost get into any group and really help them get together. But then there are some that they're not like me. They're the way they organize, I know will vibe well with a certain group. And I will make sure that when I find that group and I had those initial conversations, that I put somebody to help continue the work that I did with somebody that I know is gonna match that energy of that group. You have to be able to do that. Because you're right, I can't be everywhere. But if you have somebody strong like me, or some of the other people that I know that are doing this kind of work, that have people that are maybe they're not as strong, but they are very good with a particular group, or vibe well with a particular group, then you're, like, for example, I got a friend who just started doing this a couple of months ago, and I have a lot of faith in him, because when we started this, I would call him at 3 in the morning and ask him to go to an action with me, and he would wake up and then go to work at UPS afterwards, after being up at 3 or 4 in the morning for a few hours, then go to work. And I was like, I want him with me. And this guy, he was like an ex-Marine, right? He was in the Marines, he fought in the military, but I mean, he didn't fight in any wars or anything, but he was all over the country and he did a lot of things. So a lot of times he has that Marine mentality. And I know that there's a particular group, like if I meet somebody and the worker was in the military, let's say he was in the Navy, or I'm like, okay, this guy's gonna talk to him for me, because he already has that. There's that connection I can't have with him, because I never went to the military. I know what it's like to be at war with the billionaires and the companies, but this is different. They have a camaraderie already built from being in training, and you know, I can't connect to that and he can. Then I have a younger guy, right? He's a very young, I mean, you guys know there's people on the right, people on the left. He's a very young, strong lefty, right? And a lot of these young organizers that are doing the work, a lot of them are. So when I'm meeting a group of young lefties and they really appreciate my story and they're willing to fight, and I'm like, okay, let me call my guy and he's gonna come work with you guys. And he's perfect for them, because he's, you know, in that
Common
group,
language.
in that generation. So you have to learn how to mix and match people too. It's very tricky, but once you you get a knack for it once you start doing it. And I'm not gonna pretend like it came to me easy. I learned by making mistakes, trial and error. Like, I'd put this guy here and I saw that nothing was moving. I'd be like, what did I do? Let me get back in. I get back in, try to bring them back up, and then I find somebody else, and then now the group withstand, you know? So it's a matter of trial and error, learning things and moving people around, learning to delegate, because I can't be everywhere. People like me can't be everywhere. My boss, she's amazing. She can't be everywhere. Well, she tries. She is unbelievable. I don't know how she does it. Like, I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, this is just too much. But I know how important it is. So leaders are important, because if you can't find a good leader, you're gonna have trouble moving people. You gotta have a leader in that group that's gonna help move people. And they gotta be like you a little bit. They have to be able to talk, and you have to train them how to use their story, how to bring this out of the other worker. They have to learn these things. And we all know there's good leaders and bad leaders, right? People say Hitler was a leader, right? One of the worst that I could think of. But you have good leaders and bad. So you got this bad leader that's got a following. How do you get that group? Because they're following this asshole. You know, he's just a jerk who only thinks of himself, and you don't know why these people following him, because he's flashy, or he talks really well and fast. But you got to organize around them and let that group, or some of the people, you're not going to get everybody, but some of the people in that group are going to see what he really is, and that's when you start to organize around them. And I don't want to act like we have to rely on the NLRB or the NLRA. We shouldn't, as workers, have to rely on them. Workers have so much more power if they just shut shit down together and not rely on an organization or an establishment to give you a union. You are a union. As workers standing together, that is union. You know, the union is not a third party like they like to say. No. One time I was talking to a worker and we were at a Dunkin' Donuts, and he's like, well, yeah, we need a union. And I'm like, yeah, where do you think you can find one? And he was like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, look over there. And I pointed to the glass. And he's looking, he's like, I don't see anything. I said, no, look closer. You gotta look close. And I'm pointing at him in the mirror. And it's not a mirror, but it's a window and his reflection. And I'm like, right there, that's the union. And he's like, talking about me? And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's the union. You create this. I'm not here to bring it to you. I'm here to show you how to build it. Again, you got to take it back to that. They have to understand we're not here to give them anything. We're here to help you get something, and you have to win it. You have to fight for it. So, I think that when you teach people and train them how to fight and make them understand that that's what they have to do, that's how you can win. And no, it's not easy. It's not easy. So you got to make sure when you build a group, right? It's a circle of trust. You can't let a wolf in sheep's clothing into your circle. But you also have to do the math, right? So let's say you have a unit and it's 100 workers, right? We believe that you need at least 10% of that workforce to be a strong committee. A solid group of 10 people can help move 100 workers to victory. To have an election legally, if we're going by the NLRB, you only need 30% of the workforce. You only need to show 30%, right? So you figure 30 workers to file for an election to prove that workers here want a union. You only need 50 plus 1 to win that election. Now, I'm asking you guys here, are you gonna go and file for election with just 30% and then hope to win that you get 51% to get an election? Are you gonna do that? No. So when we're doing this, we're trying to get to 65, 70 before we even pull the trigger for an election. Because you don't want to have an election and lose. Why would you go with 30%? Some people have tried. As a matter of fact, I think the UAW right now is starting by going with elections at 30%. I still think that you should get to 65, 70% of the workforce because you want a group that's ready to fight and ready to strike if they have to. Not everybody's gonna vote. Two, you're gonna lose some people to fear because of union busting and the lies. Oh, the union's all hooked up with the mafia, or the union's gonna take all your money in union dues, or you know, the unions protect lazy workers. We give you this now, we give you that. We're gonna take it away if the union comes in. It's all bullshit. But people don't know, and next you know, your numbers start diminishing, and you lose the election. That's why if you're at 60, 75% of strong people, you're not gonna lose because they're already ready. You've organized them, you've prepared them, you've inoculated them around the union busting. You guys know what inoculation is, right? Yeah. So you're preparing them for what's to come. They're gonna know that the union busters are coming. They know they're gonna come and lie to them because you already prepared them for that. So when the election comes, they're ready to win. So yeah, you need a metric system. You need to be able to count how many people you have, how many people are under structure. You have your committee of 10 people. Out of the 10 people, who spoke to this person? Who spoke to that one? Have you done your evaluations? Have you done your assessments? Every person we look at as 1 through 5. And you'll learn this like if you ever went to any organizing training. A lot of people use the bullseye, right? The people on the outside of the bullseye are the worst. The closer you get to the middle, that's where the good core. So I do it real quick, 1 through 5. A 1 is a leader. A 1 is somebody who's gonna help move this. A person who's involved, who's taking the paperwork, who's signing.
With an energy,
drive, wants to learn more, is fighting. Those are 1s. You want as many 1s as you can get. And hopefully your 10 people in that 100 unit building are all 1s. Then you got your 2s. These people are under structure. They're good, they're solid, they're gonna help. They might even help flyer with you. They might help get signatures with you. They're gonna stand with you. They're gonna make sure people vote yes. They're not gonna be the leaders, but they will do everything to help you. They're good, you need 2s. Then you have your 3s, people on the fence, people not sure, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I don't know, maybe, you can bring them in. You can make them 2s. There might be a 1 there. It might be a leader. You don't even know. I've seen 5s come to become a leader, and I was like, whoa, what happened? You just never know. So you're constantly trying to pull them to the 1 or the 2. The 4 is between the 4 and the 5. The 4 is very apathetic. It's a person that mostly cares about themselves. Doesn't care one way or another. Fuck the union. Get a union. I don't care. They're gonna benefit. when the union comes.
Free rides.
But they don't give a shit. And even when you get a union, they're not going to do anything to help the union, even though they're getting. They just don't care. Free ride, totally. That's what we're looking at. That's a good way of looking. A free ride. That's what a number 4 is. Doesn't care about nothing but themselves. If you can get a 4 to flip, that good. You know, that's like you made this person wake up because they're asleep right now. Sleep at the wheel.
Right.
Then you got your
Sleep in the wheel.
Yeah.
That's a good.
So if you got a 5 now, 5s are the worst. 5 are the anti-union. They're gonna be with the company wearing "No, we don't want a union" T-shirts. They're gonna try to destroy anything that you're doing. They're gonna try to call you ass kissers. We call in Spanish lambeojos, right? Yeah, a lambeojo, like it translates to licking eyeballs. It doesn't sound the same, but it means an ass kisser. Yeah, those are the worst. But yeah, so you're doing your assessments. You want to know what each person is because you want to know your 1s and 2s and 3s. Your 1s and 2s are voting. They're gonna help you win this election. The 3s, if you get enough of them, you're gonna win. So you gotta work on your 3s. The 4s, don't kill yourself trying to get them. If you get one, good. But don't kill yourself. Don't waste your time. If they don't listen, if they don't, move on. The 5s, don't even waste your time. I mean, if a 5 comes to you and I actually flipped the 5 one time. It was insane. I couldn't believe it. This person was kicking me off their porch. And then by the end of the conversation, they're saying they'll think about it, which to me made them a 3. So I felt like I got them from a 5 to the 3. Even offered me bacon. They were cooking bacon in the house. Old white guy, huge Trump supporter. He had Trump bobblehead dolls and a Trump magazine in his bathroom. And, he was calling the union a bunch of socialists and communists. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not so bad. But, he was like, heavy on that unions were, this third party thing. And I sat there and I said, sir, every union worker that I've spoken to, your coworkers, they're just trying to build a better life for themselves, just like you. I said, you can't tell me that unions in this country have not done well. This was during a DHL campaign in Kentucky. And this worker was like an older man. People followed him and he was like an old grumpy guy. And I was able to have a conversation. Later on, I found out that this guy voted yes for the union, not once, but twice, because he got 2 papers by mistake and he voted twice for the union. I was like, what? And the guy that I went there to talk with him sent it to me to make sure that I knew, because he remembers how we almost got kicked off this guy's porch. And he was like, you flipped this 5 into a 1. Into a 2. And it was really amazing, but it happens. But again, don't kill yourself. Like I felt like I devoted too much time to that conversation, and though I was lucky, it was still a waste because now I had less people to talk to that day. But he did end up helping move workers. The one time it became something lucky. And I was newer at the time, and I was very, very sad when I walked away from there thinking, well, he didn't really, in the end, say he was going to do this. He had to talk to my wife. But, in the end, he did vote yes. So I got in his head, And I was really happy about that. That was probably my hardest flip. But you can't give up. It's like you have to do your assessments. You have to have a metric system. You have to know what you're working or a goal. You have to have concrete benchmarks. You have to make sure that every time you have a conversation with these workers, you're leading them to something. They have to be ready to take on a new part of the campaign, whether it be educating their workers, whether it be handing out literature, whether it be signing a petition against an issue on the job, having a march on the boss, where you get 15, 20 coworkers to march on the boss so that people in the building see there's something happening here. People are fighting for something. And then keeping them together after that happens, because then they're gonna start union busting, right? And then it's like making them stronger. And keep working with them and keep talking to them and doing follow-ups. It never stops. It's like owning a house, right?
Yeah.
You own a house, the first thing you need is a solid foundation, right? If you have a foundation and you're building a house, what happens if you don't have a good foundation? Collapse, right? So you have to have a house with a solid foundation. Now you build your house, everything is great. You think you're never gonna have to work on fixing anything?
No, you always have something.
It's like owning a house. You need a solid foundation because the foundation will always keep the house up, but you're never gonna stop working because there is always gonna have something going wrong and you gotta keep fixing it. So Don't lie to workers. Don't pretend like we're gonna come in and we're gonna save the day and everything's gonna be okay. No, because you're gonna get a contract. You're gonna get a contract. We're gonna fight for that. You're gonna have it. But the company's gonna violate the contract the minute the ink dries.
Yeah.
It's gonna be up to you to fight them every day.
Yeah.
The house needs to maintain itself.
Yeah.
You have to fix the house. You have to paint the walls. You have to take care of the plumbing,
right.
you know, but as long as you have a solid foundation, I promise you that house will never fall. But that's organizing, you know? So when you ask that question, that's a pretty strong one. The work never stops. The work never stops, okay?
Yes.
All different unions and industries, from UPS to teachers to nurses to, I mean, so many different, and not just in America, right? I mean, Latin American countries, European countries, right? The French, the Italian, the Spaniards, the Guatemalans, the Mexican, I mean, everybody from all over the world comes to Chicago once every 2 years. And we talk about the importance of growing the worker movement. It is where people get educated, where people learn to take on bad union leadership, where people learn to reform their unions, where people learn to become shop stewards and be good at it. It is where people learn to network amongst one another, meeting people that do the same work from other parts of the country. When you got an Italian worker working at Amazon that has a union, and then a worker here in America that doesn't have a union, and they start talking, you're building connections. It's amazing. I was speaking to a German Amazon employee, and I wear it a lot of times, and people are like, how do you know about the German union? And because I met a German worker from Amazon. And I have the t-shirt, it says it in German, you know, Verdi with the little union sticker. Like, it's just an amazing, amazing event, you know? The connection is endless, and you're not the only, you're right. Like I said, I've spoken to German Amazon workers. We have Amazon workers from California that went to England to fight in the UK during the multiple European strikes that happened out there. We're using our experiences to help get it out into the world so that we get more people. You know, I'm 50, I'm not gonna be around forever. I gotta give my experiences to somebody. And the bigger the audience, the better. The more people that learn, the better. So, like I said, our workers, a lot of them are Teamsters. So they go to the Teamster TDU conference. So Teamsters also do their own education stuff, but a lot of times the ones the Teamsters do, a lot of them could be just to train stewards or business agents and executive board members. They do some training for workers, but I don't see them happen that often. TDU does, you know, real rank and file training as well, but they deal with like the workers that are not yet stewards, workers that want to learn how to do the job. You know, lately, because TDU now and the IBT are like in a coalition where they call Teamsters United, right? IBT and TDU together, there's a lot more education happening, which is great. And some of the TDU activists have become trainers now in the IBT, which is amazing.
IBT stands for
The
what?
International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the national union, right? So there's local unions and then you have the national. But TDU has always been there to educate workers since like the early 80s, right? Going into whatever. But it's great because the workers get to go and get educated on a lot of things, organizing your fellow co-workers, how to organize a simple thing like a parking lot meeting. Some people don't know how to do that. How to just stand in front of your workplace and use the money that you get for grievances to pay for donuts and coffee as the workers come in. Look, this was paid for by such and such. The supervisor, you know, jerk face or whatever you want to put. And it makes people want to get involved. It makes people want to, you know, so yeah, try to go to the ones that you think would help you in what you're trying to do. I noticed that a lot of this conversation was around organizing. Definitely do some of the organizing workshops. It's a I'm the organizer I am today is because it's been a culmination of life experiences and great tutelage, you know, that has made me the person that I am today. And why, you know, and I hate when people say to you, yo, you're such a great organizer. No, I'm not. I'm an organizer. There's no great organizer. We're all just organizers. We're all the same. Stop trying to put this person on a pedestal, or you're a professional. I'm not a professional. I'm just an organizer. I'm just here to help workers. Don't put me up there. I will help you, and I will give you my experience, and that's all I can do. What you do with that is up to you. You know, what makes an organizer great? I mean, to me, anybody who's moving people and workers, you're doing great.
Being genuine.
Being genuine. You know, a lot of people let this stuff go to their heads. Oh, I'm the professional organizer. I'm great at this. This is what I do. I'm gonna help lead armies. No, stop it. There's no ego in this. I'm not doing this because I want my name in the papers. I'm not doing this because I want to be famous. I'm doing it to help the people that need our help. We're here to build up the workforce. There shouldn't be no kings or queens. There should be workers taking back what they deserve. That's what we're here to do. Over the last few years, I think unions have realized that some of these corporations are too big to take on their own. Even a company like Amazon, right? Teamsters are huge, right? There's 1 million of members in the Teamsters, 1.2, 1.3 million, I think. We're big, we're strong, we're powerful, we've got millions of dollars. We have a strike fund that has over 300 million in it to protect striking workers. We're a powerful organization. You know, Teamsters are badass. But Amazon made $500 billion. It's always gonna be just our millions versus their billions. You can go bankrupt as an organization trying to take that on by yourself. Because think about all the manpower, all the workers that you need to take this on, the amount of organizers you need. You need people that are gonna do this voluntarily. If not, you'll go broke. You need other unions to help and lend a hand. You need communities and legislators. As much as we don't wanna rely on them, they need to put laws in place that are gonna help workers win these wars. It's a culmination of people coming together to take on a cause. Over the last few years, we've seen more of that. If UAW is on strike, guess what? Teamsters are supporting them on those picket lines, and we're not letting those trucks in and out of there. Starbucks workers were on strike. Starbucks workers are great. They're trying to fight this company. A lot of them never experienced striking or how it is. When we go to their picket lines and we're chanting and we're firing them up, they're seeing what it takes to scare people from going into Starbucks and not getting that coffee. Like, no, you're not gonna get a coffee while we're here. These people are not treating these workers right. We're showing them how to do it. They're learning and they're taking it to their other stores and bringing it there. We have to work together. UAW with Teamsters, Starbucks workers, Trader Joe's workers. When I'm asked to speak at any picket line, I will go gladly. And I will fire those workers up because I want them to be inspired. I want them to keep fighting. And we have to have people that are able to do that. You need leaders in the movement that are gonna be able to inspire workers to keep up the work. A lot of times you get that fatigue and you get tired. And sometimes you see them just walking around in a circle. No, bring that energy up. We're here to fight them. If we don't get it, shut it down. I wanna feel it.
Right.
You need to feel it. Don't just walk around. This is something real. These people, they have to hear you a mile away from here. I want them to know that this is gonna not stop until they give you a fair contract. So it's to answer that question, we do have to come together. Unions do have to work together to take on these organizations, and not just unions. Communities, legislators got to get off their ass up in Albany and up in Capitol Hill and up in Washington, and they got to start fighting for workers. And we don't have to rely on them, but we need to put the pressure. They don't get elected without us. The workers in this country are some of the most voting people in the world. Workers vote. They know those votes rely on us a lot of times. People that aren't voting aren't paying attention because we're not making them. Wake up. We pick the people up there. We got to build this from the ground up, you know, and it's going to take communities coming together, workers coming together, unions coming together, non-union workers coming together and making unions, creating unions, joining unions. That's how we're going to win this war. It ain't going to be just one big Teamster union or the big UAW or the UFT. We got to work together and help each other when we can. And yeah, a lot of times the politicians do, and you can't avoid it. It happens a lot of times where a leader in our union will become close to a politician and maybe start to sway and not support and maybe support some legislation that's not necessarily good, right? And then they'll say, hey, you guys should vote for this person, right? And we're all like, no, we're not voting for this person. But I think that's an opportunity. I think that's also an organizing opportunity where you're helping your workers see why this person is not good for us. You know, like, for example, like, let's use Trump as an example.
That's easy.
He's an easy one, right? So he took a picture with our union president, Sean O'Brien. O'Brien was meeting with many of the candidates, right? And it pissed off a lot of people, right? Because we haven't voted for a Republican president in a long time. So, you know, people like, why is he doing this? And I think in O'Brien's way of looking at things in the general executive board was that they're going to speak to every candidate. And they know that we do have a lot of Trump supporting union workers. But it's also an opportunity to show them that you're talking to everybody, but we're going to choose this person because this person has done more for the union than this person, right? Because in the end, they're going to have to endorse somebody. Listen, we have 340,000 UPS workers. I'm not even counting the other ones. I can tell you that I know the union workers that work like in the South, in Kentucky and Georgia and Florida, they're all voting for Trump. But there are a large group of Trumps here in New York. You know, a lot of our Long Island workers are very Trump supportive, and they were very happy when they saw that picture. But again, you know, this is a good educational opportunity. This is this guy, this is this guy. I'm putting them both before you. This is what he's done. This is what he's done. What do you guys think we should do? You know?
Do you need to endorse a candidate?
We don't. They can absolutely abstain if they wanted to.
Right.
I honestly don't know what direction they're going to go in.
I think the unions should just not endorse these candidates because they're just...
They're both so bad.
Yeah. Well, why should we always choose the lesser of two evil?
Yeah. Would you say we need a workers' party? I would agree. I would think that I'm very displeased with the way the Democratic Party has been doing things. Don't get me wrong, there are some Democrats that have done some great work. I'm very disappointed in the Republican Party. Can I say every single Republican is bad? No, I've seen some that have done some decent things. There comes a point where we're going to need a party that cares about the working people in this country. Just alone. Forget about everything else. Too many business interests. Too many billionaires have their hands in a lot of these people's pockets and push them in a direction because of their money, because of their wealth, because of their power, which comes from their wealth. The truth is they have no power. The money is what's giving them the strength. All we got to do is take it away from them.
You talking about structure? You talking about a union structure, or
like
what?
yeah, like a union structure, a party structure, but a group of people that collectively make decisions. You know, and I don't think that one person should ever be in control of that. And I feel like a lot of times these presidents may have too much power to do things. Think about little things. Let's say little things that we can change as an organization, as a labor party, just in our schools alone. Let's start teaching people history again. Let's talk about the labor movement in history. Why aren't we teaching our kids in school about labor and how far labor has come? And you know how it's such a major productive part of society. Labor built this city. Labor built this country. Why do we not teach this in schools? Why does every kid in school want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a YouTube influencer or a TikTok millionaire? Because this is what we're teaching our kids, to idolize Beyonce and Jay-Z and The Rock and even Bruce Lee, right? Like, these people are not idols. Why are we worshiping them? Let's worship the worker. We're the ones, and there shouldn't be no worshiping. It's about believing in the worker and what they've done for society. You know, it's not about worship. It's about respect. It's about dignity for all workers. My father always said to me, even as a kid, that the janitor of a building is no different than the owner of the building, because they're both taking a shit and they're both putting their shoes on at the same time, and they're both gonna die. So why are we respecting him more than him? So I think there comes a point where we have to have like respect amongst all people and kind of find a way where we can move together. And yeah, you know, I mean, a lot of the work I do is organizing them, and you know, I look at it like this. You have to educate people about the things that are happening. As an organizer, unfortunately, you have to be careful what you bring up, because there's a lot of people that you're trying to help that don't care about that kind of stuff. And as much as I feel in my heart what they're doing is wrong and it's a genocide, and you're trying to eliminate a people,
Yeah.
right? It's
Heartburn. Yeah.
and I feel it, but I can't let it interfere with the work that I'm doing,
yes.
because these people aren't ready for that. Now I know if I help them build a union and they win and they start getting a good contract, then I can start to have those conversations, but not till they win something. You know, a lot of people want to go right in and try to educate them on these things, and you could lose a worker. They'll be like, you know what, this isn't for me. You're not helping me here. You're worried about what's happening in another country. I'm working here now. You know, which is the sad truth. But do I believe it? Do I talk to my UPS workers about it? Have I gone out to actions in the city and helped shut down the streets? Yeah, I've even got arrested for it. That's how I believe. You know, a group of us sat down in front of an office in Manhattan, and the cops came and arrested everybody who sat down. But we believe that this is wrong, you know, and they have to see it, and we have to have actions to show this government that they should not be funding a war. And when I talk to my workers about it, a lot of times I'll talk about the economics of it. I'll say to them, listen, first of all, they're killing a whole race of people. And it's not just, you know, they're saying that it's a war and that they're going after these terrorists, but are there terrorists in the schools and in the hospitals? And are the babies the babies lifting up guns too? There are babies in the street without parents because of this war. There are people dying by the thousands.
Right.
And if that's not enough for you, they're using your tax dollars to fund this war.
Yes.
I mean, if all you care about is the money, because that's not enough for you, that these people are suffering in the streets and have no food, like, you have to guilt them. Like, I'm gonna hit you with the hardest part first. I'm gonna say, that's not enough for you, then they're using your money to fund this. You're paying how much in taxes every year? How much do you get back at the end of the year? They just gave them $1 billion. Your kid goes to school and they told you that there's not enough money for books for this school. But yet they have $1 billion to give to these people to go fight with bombs and tanks. So why don't you think about that? You know, if a whole race of people being destroyed isn't pulling on your heartstrings, you know? Maybe you care only about money. Well, they're using your money. But again, that's what workers that are already in unions, that's what people that think like we do, you know, what does a worker want? He wants to fix this now. I'm trying to show him that he's got to wait. You can fight this and it's going to happen. But if I start throwing all of this at him, he's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. You're okay. I'm out, you know? But you know, when he does get a union, and then there comes the education of being a shop steward, and then you mix that stuff in there, right? A little political education. Do you think this is right, what's happening? And I don't like forcing my beliefs on other people. I want you to find it within yourself. I've always believed in that. When you're speaking to somebody about anything, whether it be a union, let them find their way to it. You shouldn't have to force this on them. I'm not coming to you and saying, you need to join the union because the union's gonna do this for you, and I'm gonna make sure you have good benefits, and I'm gonna make sure. I'm not selling. Perfectly said. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a vacuum cleaner salesman. I'm not selling my union to you, right? Same thing with political education. Listen, this is what's happening. Me personally, I don't like it. You know, how do you feel about it? You know, this is what's happening. These are the people being affected. This is how it affects all of us. Like, you think that this is just about Palestine? This is bigger than that. This isn't the first time. You know, I mean, look what happened to the Japanese, right? When America dropped the bomb on them. I'm not saying that the Japanese weren't doing things back then, but to blow up a whole piece of a country. I mean, you know, things happen. you know, and we have to find a way to have these conversations. And you know, I honestly don't know how we can, you know, as an organization, as a group of people, try to find a way where we can have a peaceful world. But I see an idea of one, you know. I see that there's a possibility that we can get there, where there's, you know, less chance for war, where there's less chance for oppression, you know. But do I have a silver bullet for it? No, I don't have a silver bullet for it.
But you have long-term worker, you have temporary workers, you have temps, and how, what kind of contradictions, and how do you do education? How do you organize around that? How do you deal with that friction that might be there?
Like between full-timers and part-timers?
Yeah.
Well, first you have to organize a contract that doesn't create those kind of divisions. Like for example, the 2023 UPS contract, I told you guys earlier, in 2018 they created a two-tier
Right.
job system. So it was essentially another driver making less money. The job was promised to us as a work job, where this person would work inside the building, doing unloading trucks, and work with the driver all day to help him deliver packages, and then go inside the building and unload some of the trucks. But it's not what happened. It was just a lower tier paid job, and they just used them for driving. So it was like kind of like a big lie. We knew going into the contract that that was the case, and we voted no against it. And that was the one that at the time HAFA decided to implement, because 2/3 of the membership didn't vote.
Right.
In 2023, we corrected that mistake. In 2023, we voted to eliminate that position. So you have to fight for contracts that eliminate those two-tier jobs. You have to find a way to get these workers. Now, that's not to say that we're gonna eliminate part-time work. I'm not a big, huge believer in that there should be like this huge part-time workforce, but I do understand that there are kids going to school that live at home with their parents who are looking to just make a little money
Right.
so that they can help pay for certain things.
Right.
And that's okay, because they can't work a full-time job because they're going to school.
Right.
So those jobs are not complete throwaway jobs. They're helpful to people that are, you know, is it a career? No. So it's like a question of whether there should just be career jobs or jobs for people like in the service industry, waitresses.
Right. You can be flexible, but you pay them the same.
Right, correct. It should be flexible. And don't get me wrong, they're still paid a little less, or half of what our drivers are making, but we do want to fight to get them up to, because originally that job they were paid the same back in the 80s. And in 97, we fought to get it back close again, and then it slipped away again. And in 2023, we try to bring it back.
I see.
So there are inside workers now that will be making 25, 30 bucks an hour, but our drivers at the end of the contract are gonna be making $49 an hour. So they're still making well above them,
Right.
but at least we gave them something.
Right.
But yeah, the goal is that they should, just because you're working half the hours doesn't mean you deserve half the pay.
Right.
Yeah, I think automation has changed it a lot.
Automation made it more permanent or more temporary?
Automation made less part-time jobs, because they're doing the work now.
Yeah.
That like if there were 20 or 30 people sorting packages, now they have a
Machine
big
doing
machine that
that.
just does it.
Yeah.
And that workforce is now eliminated, and they have to assimilate them into other jobs.
Right.
So you don't lose your job, but you know, then there are layoffs for the newer
Right.
workers that just got there,
Right.
that are under a year or two, that they end up getting laid off
Right.
because there's no need for it.
Right.
A lot of times this is like playing whack-a-mole. Like you're lifting people up and you're fighting something and you're winning things, and then they find a way to
get
try
back.
to hurt
Yeah,
you.
I know.
You know, and it's a back and forth,
Right.
and it's never gonna end. It's like I
Right.
said, it's building a house.
Right.
You're never gonna stop working. You gotta continue to organize. You can't let them win. You can't let them, every time they beat you down, not get back up. You guys like Rocky movies?
Right.
You ever watch Rocky? I know it's about boxing, but it's about a person being beat down so much, but never giving up. No matter how hard we get hit, and no matter how hard we get knocked down, if we don't keep getting back up to fight, you know, we have to keep getting up to fight.